All right, welcome back for part 2 of our Ed Emberley inspired drawing of a fox in Illustrator. So we're going to draw a couple of whiskers before we move on. We could draw this with the ellipse and, edit that ellipse into a curved shape, but I'm just going to get the pencil tool out. And I want you guys to know, like, if you double click some of these drawing tools, you can actually modify how smooth the drawing is or how accurate. In this case, I've got the smooth setting set way up. So I know that when I draw with this thing, it's going to be super smooth. So I'm going to just click and drag a kind of curve. You'll see that it's really smooth because I've got that, that setting at such a high point. So I'm going to show you guys how to transform an object multiple times here. So if you go to the object menu and choose transform and choose transform each, you can do multiple transformations all from a single dialog box. So for instance, if I scale this thing, down to, 80% of the original, right? And like you can hit preview and see the before and after. So it's reducing the size, and I'm gonna rotate this thing a bit. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so we're going to rotate 15 degrees. So let's go 15 there. We may need to go negative 15. There we go. And one thing I want you to notice, like, you can set the reference point as you're doing this. So if I switch the reference point from the center of the object down to the lower left corner, you're going to see that it's rotating from there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to make a copy of this, right? There we go. So I've got a second whisker rotating from that lower left reference point. And to repeat the last transformation that you just did is Command or Control D. See that? So it repeats the last thing. So I get another one. All right. So one thing, Illustrator right now is set to scale strokes and effects. So it actually scaled down the stroke as I transform that. So I'm going to set the stroke weight back to 1 point for each of those so they're consistent. All right, so I'm going to move this in place on one side of the nose. In fact, it's probably a good idea if I group those, Command G to group them, and then you can use the arrows to kind of nudge them in place. All right, so now let's reflect this to the other side. Hit the O key to get the reflect tool. Find the center of your object that you're trying to reflect it to the other side of, and then Option click that point and copy the reflection. All right. All right, so let's turn our attention to drawing the fox's body here. So we're going to start with another ellipse. And so over here to the side, I'm going to make a, what does it say? 2.5 inches. And then 0.75. So I'm going to move over here so I can see what I'm doing a little better. And again, if you look in the lower left of where you're drawing, you can kind of get pretty close to what you need it to be. Right? When you find it, let go. And I kind of messed it up when I let go. So again, if you need to be precise, come over here to the property panel and adjust those size so that they're perfect. I don't know if you're as OCD as I am, but there we go. Okay, so that's going to be his torso. And we're going to draw another ellipse to form his leg. And rotate. Oh, keep somehow hitting the wrong button. There we go. Okay, so pardon me. And we need one more ellipse down here to form the foot. All right, and again, I'm going to get the direct select tool, select the bottom point, hit the delete key on the keyboard, select those two anchor points by shift-clicking them and hitting Command J to complete that shape. And I'm going to use the arrow key just kind of nudge things into position. Oops, wrong key again. There we go. Sorry, shift key. Select both. All right, that's probably close enough. All right, now these two shapes, once again, let's hit the O key on the keyboard to reflect them. Option or Alt click the center of your object and then copy them. Okay, so now let's use the shape builder tool. Like the shortcut for that is Shift M. Oh, hang on. Before you do that, before you get that tool, you need to select all of the objects that you want to group together. Then Shift M is the shortcut for the shape builder. There it is. And now you can click and drag through all of these shapes to unite them. All right. So now let's draw a couple of front legs. Okay, so we're going to start with sorry, hit the M key to get the rectangle tool. And we're going to start, maybe about halfway up and go a little past the lower legs there. Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe. Okay, so I want to round just the top of the leg here. So I need to get the direct select tool so I can select just the top two anchor points. I'm leaving the bottom two unselected. Now, if I grab the little widgets here, I can round. Oops. Both of those. So the top is rounded, the bottom is not. And while I'm at it, I'm going to grab this anchor point and drag it over to the right to make the leg a little more narrow. All right, and once again, let's draw an ellipse down here. Delete the bottom one. Shift select those two, hit Command J to join them. Do a little nudge to get those. And once again, let's select them both. Shift M to get the shape builder tool. Click and drag through all of those. And we got a leg with a foot. Okay, so I'm going to move that in place. Oops. There we go. About like that. And I'm going to mirror this to the other side. Are you noticing a trend here? If you're drawing with symmetry, the reflect tool is really handy. So once again, I'm going to option click the center of the shape I'm trying to reflect it on and copy it. All right, pretty cool. Now, our fox needs a tail. So I'm going to grab all those and move them kind of into place here. Got some extras here I can delete. Okay, so we're going to start with the polygon tool to draw some triangles. Right. Pardon me. There's one. And this time I'm going to hold down the Command key to give myself temporary access to the selection tool. And if I hold down Option, I get the copy function. So I'm selecting and copying. And now I'm going to rotate that a little bit. Once again, I'm going to select that, copy it. Rotate a little more. And one more time, let's copy this one. Oops. Didn't hold down the Option key. There we go. This time I'm going to, drat. I want to rotate this one back around this direction. And I'm going to use the Direct Select tool to just edit this to make the tip of the tail like that. All right. Pardon me. So I'm going to select all of these now. I'm hitting the D key to give them all a solid fill. And once again, you could use the shape builder, or you can just come over here to the Pathfinder and unite all of those. And once again, if you get the Direct Select tool, you have access to these widgets that will round off those shapes all at once. Now, again, you could, if you wanted to deal with them one at a time, you could select one anchor point at a time and just round that one. But if you select the whole thing, like click on the fill, you can round them all at once. All right. So let's put that in place. And I don't know. Does his tail need to be bigger than that? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. How big does his tail need to be? Okay, so once again, we need to deal with filling these shapes and layer order, but that goes pretty quick. So I think his front leg should be a slightly different flavor. Well, let's do it this way. Let's change that to the lighter, and the front legs and the tail to the darker fill. And now the tail needs to be back, so Command and the left bracket key until it goes behind. And then all of this, I'm going to select all of it and move that behind the head. Voila. And it looks like, sometimes things look better without a stroke. So you can give that stroke a no fill. Same thing on his head. I think maybe let's give his head, let's get rid of the stroke on that. Maybe on the eyes too. It seems a little heavy. And maybe change the ears, the color of the stroke on the ears to that orange. And let's see, eyeballs. I'm going to put on his eyelids, I'm going to change the color of that stroke to kind of a reddish color. And like maybe get rid of that stroke too. It just depends on how you're feeling that day, how you want to color things. But so, oh, I wanted to show you one more thing. Like sometimes, like the real key to making eyes come to life, even on a flat piece like this, is to give the eyes a little reflection. So I'm going to get my pencil tool out again. Shortcut for the pencil tool is N. And I'm going to draw it a little larger so you can see it a little better. But I'm going to kind of follow this curve, draw it a little larger for you, and then we'll shrink it down a bit. All right, so I'm going to give that stroke a white color, and maybe let's bump that up so we can see it a little better. In fact, let me zoom in. Okay, so we're going to play with the width tool. And what this does is, like, you can take a stroke and modify it by using this tool. You can click on like an anchor point of a stroke, of a path, click and essentially like make it wider at one end, and say on this end I'm going to make it thinner. And for this to look right in the eye, we need a different cap for our stroke. So remember, if you go to the stroke options, you can change the cap from like a butt end cap to a rounded cap or to a projecting cap. This time we need a rounded cap. See that? Makes all the difference. There you go. And by the way, like there are profiles down here at the bottom of the stroke panel as well, where you can choose like a preset kind of shape, right? And you can even make your own and save them here too. Pretty handy. But I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. So that's the shape I want. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Okay, so let me get this doohickey and move it in place here. We need to make it a little smaller. Nudge it into place. Right, and this needs to go into that group. So we can, essentially go to our layers. Like if you're dealing with a group, like for the eye, right, here's our group for that eye, and here's my path that I've just drawn. Watch this. You can go to your layers panel, find that group. You can drag this and drop it into that group. Under the eyelid. Okay. Pretty cool, huh? All right, and so while I'm at it, I'm going to double click that. I'm going to copy it, Command C. And remember, when you double click to isolate a group, you can double click off of it to leave it. We'll come over here. Let's double click this one. And I'm going to hit Command V to paste it in there. Put it in place. And once again, we need to move that below the eyelid in the layer order. Double click to leave Oops. There we go. He looks really sad, and I think, you know, in the instructions I had his eyelids going this way, so he looks more angry than sad. When you turn him out this way, he looks sad. So I'm sorry, Mr. Fox, I made you sad. All right, so there you have it. I realize this is a very simple drawing with very simple shapes, but you have to start somewhere, and like you build on these simple ideas, and you start to learn to make much more complex, more sophisticated illustrations. So I wish you the best of luck. Now you go out and dream up your own character, or go find one from Ed Emberley and practice, right? Like start drawing these things, draw your own characters, and you're going to be really good at Illustrator before you know it. All right, so good luck.